Okay, welcome everyone to the deep dive. We've got quite a stack of fascinating source material here covering recent events, and our mission really is to take you on a deep dive into the most important insights. This is especially tuned for navigating current affairs relevant for your UPSC preparation. We're looking specifically at insights from the 10th of June, 2025. This is part one. Now, some of what we cover today might be, entirely new concepts for you, while others might feel a bit like a useful revision, maybe things we've touched on before. But the goal is the same. We want to extract those key nuggets of knowledge, help you quickly become well-informed without feeling, well, overwhelmed.
Exactly. And we're going to jump right in. We're covering a really broad spectrum today. We'll be looking at traditional medicine conservation efforts right here in India. We'll delve into a geopolitical hotspot, look at global health challenges, and interestingly, some progress there too. Also a kind of surprising climate science proposal, and even some new species discoveries and advancements in national security tech. So let's start unpacking this stack together.
Okay, let's kick things off with something that, well, might sound a little unexpected at first. Recent reports out of Pakistan highlighted a pretty sudden surge in the price of donkeys. So I have to ask, why donkeys? What's going on?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It connects directly to a traditional Chinese medicine ingredient called ejiao. Have you heard of it? It's essentially a gelatin.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, made from stewing and concentrating donkey skin. And it's used pretty widely in traditional clinics. Proponents claim various biological advantages, anti-fatigue, boosting immunity, even potential roles in tumor suppression and treating anemia. The collagen from the hide is key.
Right. And the sheer scale of demand, that's where it gets really significant, isn't it? The numbers are quite striking. Between 2013 and 2016, annual production reportedly jumped quite a bit.
It did, from about 3,200 tons to 5,600 tons.
Wow.
And the overall industry growth in China, massive. A reported 160% increase in just the past 5 years. That kind of growth, well, it translates directly into needing millions of donkey hides every single year.
Which starts to explain the focus on countries like Pakistan, then. The sources point out Pakistan actually has a pretty significant global donkey population.
It does. Ranks third globally, behind only Ethiopia and Sudan. So this global demand is having a very direct impact on local animal populations and markets elsewhere. It really shows that interconnectedness.
Absolutely. That link between, say, a traditional medicine demand and farmers' livelihoods halfway across the world.
Precisely. Oh, and the sources also mention its other names, sometimes called kolakori asini.
Kolakori asini.
Yeah, or just more descriptively, donkey hide glue.
Donkey hide glue. Got it. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From those global trade dynamics, let's focus on conservation, specifically here in India. We're turning our attention now to the Tamhini Wildlife Sanctuary.
Tamhini, right. It's a protected forest area located in the Western Ghats, not too far from Pune in Maharashtra.
Okay, and its size.
It covers about 49.62 square kilometers. Its origin is interesting, too. It was actually carved out from previously reserved forest land, so areas from the Pune Forest Division like the Pound and Singad ranges, and also the Roha Division in Thane.
And the habitat itself sounds quite varied, which you'd expect in the Western Ghats, right? You find patches of evergreen, semi-evergreen, and moist deciduous forests.
Exactly. Flora includes things like teak, bamboo, ain, shisham, and also familiar trees like mango and jamun. A good mix.
And the fauna, what lives there?
Also quite diverse. Mammals like Indian giant squirrels, barking deer, you might see Indian pangolins, Indian civets, wild boars too.
And for bird watchers?
Oh, it's a great spot. You could potentially see the Malabar whistling thrush, crested serpent eagle, gray jungle fowl, golden oriole, and the Indian pita, among others. It's rich in bird life.
Now, the recent news that puts Tamhini in the spotlight involves a partnership. It's between the Maharashtra Forest Department, Microsoft, and a Pune-based NGO, CYDA.
That's right. The Center for Youth Development and Activities, CYDA. They're collaborating to address what the sources call socio-ecological challenges in the sanctuary.
So for ecological challenges, what does that typically entail in a place like Tamhini?
Well, it usually means tackling issues where human communities and the ecosystem interact. So things like sustainable resource used by local people, trying to mitigate human-wildlife conflict, getting local communities actively involved in conservation efforts, and finding ways that technology, maybe like Microsoft's input here, can help. perhaps with monitoring or community engagement, things like that.
Right, so it's about that intersection of people and nature.
Exactly. And this kind of partnership model is pretty significant because it brings different kinds of expertise together to tackle these complex real-world problems on the ground.
Okay, good context. Now, from conservation on land, let's transition to a contested area of the sea and some international relations. We're looking at Thitu Island. The Philippines also calls it Pag-asa Island.
Thitu Island, yes. It's located in the South China Sea. Specifically, it's part of the Spratly Islands archipelago. It's a group of over 100 small islands and reefs.
And the context there is, well, it's intensely geopolitical, isn't it?
Extremely.
Yeah.
This whole region has multiple countries with overlapping and, frankly, often conflicting claims. China, Taiwan, Vietnam, they claim the Spratlys in their entirety. Then you have Malaysia and the Philippines also claiming portions. It's complicated.
And for the Philippines, Thitu Island holds particular strategic significance, right?
It does. It's the second largest naturally occurring island in the Spratlys. And importantly, it's the largest of the 9 islands that the Philippines actually occupies.
How long have they been there?
They've administered the island since 1971. And there's been a permanent civilian population settling there since the mid-1990s.
So it's not just military personnel?
No, not at all. The Philippines has built quite a bit of infrastructure. There's a fishing village, a school, an airport that's Mancudo Airfield, a large harbor, even a navigation lighthouse. It's a functioning community.
And the recent incident that brought Thitu back into the news?
That involved a Chinese ship running aground in severe weather, just off the island.
Okay.
And this understandably led to the Filipino soldiers stationed there being put on high alert.
It really highlights the tension in that region.
It absolutely does. And here's some crucial context from the sources. Thitu Island is only about 24 to 27 kilometers away from China's Subi Reef.
Subi Reef.
Yes, and China has constructed a large military base there. So that close proximity isn't just a geographic footnote. It underscores the constant potential for miscalculation or, escalation in that strategically vital area.
Something really important to track for international relations.
Definitely. And just to be clear, we're simply reporting the facts presented in the source material regarding the proximity and the base.
Understood. Okay, let's shift focus again. From geopolitics now to global health, let's talk about neglected tropical diseases, or NTDs.
Right. And the news here actually starts on a relatively positive note. As of May 2025, 56 countries have successfully eliminated at least one NTD.
56? That's pretty good progress.
It is. It shows real movement towards the World Health Organization's target. Their goal is 100 countries eliminating at least one NTD by the year 2030.
Okay, so what exactly are NTDs? It's a broad category, right?
It is a very diverse group of conditions. They can be caused by all sorts of pathogens, viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungi, even toxins. And they cause really devastating health, social, and economic consequences, especially for vulnerable populations.
And they tend to affect communities in poverty,
Yeah.
mainly in tropical and subtropical areas.
Predominantly, yes.
Yeah.
They're widespread, where things like safe water, sanitation, and access to healthcare are inadequate. Basic infrastructure issues compound the problem.
And why are they called neglected?
Well, historically, they just haven't received the same level of global attention, funding, or research focus as other major diseases like HIV, TB, or malaria,
Yeah.
despite their huge impact on, millions of lives.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. Things like guinea worm disease, chikungunya, dengue fever is one, Kala-azar, which is visceral leishmaniasis, elephantiasis, also known as lymphatic filariasis.
Right. And source mentioned India is home to quite a few.
Yes, about 12 different NTDs are prevalent in India.
What makes them so challenging to eliminate?
It's often their complex epidemiology. Many have animal or human reservoirs, which makes control tricky. They can be vector-borne, spread by mosquitoes or flies, and their life cycles can be really intricate, meaning you often need multifaceted intervention strategies, not just, say, a single drug.
And the scale of the problem is just enormous.
It's staggering. Estimates suggest NTDs affect over 1 billion people globally.
1 billion people.
Yes, and about 1.5 billion people need some form of intervention, whether that's preventative chemotherapy or treatment.
That really puts it into perspective.
It does, and it's why initiatives like World NTDs Day, which is observed every year on January 30th, are important. They help renew that global commitment to tackling this often overlooked burden.
Okay, moving from global health challenges to potentially controversial climate solutions. Let's explore stratospheric aerosol intervention, or SAI.
Right, SAI. There was a recent study published in the journal Earth's Future. It presented an approach to SAI that, according to the study, could potentially reduce the costs involved and maybe bring the concept a bit closer to implementation, though it's important to stress there's significant opposition to the whole idea.
So what is SAI at its core?
Basically, it's a proposed method to cool the planet. The idea is to lessen the impacts of climate change by deliberately introducing tiny reflective particles high up into the atmosphere, into the stratosphere.
And the inspiration comes from volcanoes.
Exactly. It mimics the natural cooling effect we see after major volcanic eruptions. Volcanoes spew massive amounts of aerosols, tiny particles into the stratosphere, and these reflect sunlight, causing a temporary global cooling.
So how would SAI work technologically?
One of the main proposed methods involves injecting substances like sulfur dioxide SO2 directly into the stratosphere. Once it's up there, the SO2 reacts chemically to form sulfate aerosols.
Aerosols just meaning tiny particles suspended in the air, right?
Correct. Tiny, solid, or liquid particles. These sulfate aerosols are particularly good at reflecting sunlight back into space.
So less sunlight reaches the surface, leading to cooling.
That's the theory. They could be natural aerosols like fog or volcanic ash, or artificial ones like smoke or pollution particles.
And the key is getting them into the stratosphere.
Precisely. That's the layer of atmosphere roughly 10 to 50 kilometers up. It's above the troposphere, where most of our weather happens. The reason that layer is targeted is because aerosols can stay suspended up there for much longer, maybe a year or two, compared to the lower atmosphere where they'd be washed out quickly by rain.
But you mentioned opposition. What are the main concerns?
Oh, there are many. Big concerns about potential unintended side effects, impacts on rainfall patterns, ozone layer damage, things like that, and also huge questions about global governance. Like, who decides to deploy this? Who controls it? What if one country wants it and another doesn't? It's very complex.
Definitely sounds like it. Okay, let's bring our focus back to conservation in India. This time, we're looking at a really significant protected area, the Dudhwa Tiger Reserve.
Dudhwa, yes.
Yeah.
It's located right up on the Indo-Nepal border in Uttar Pradesh.
And it's not just one park, is it?
No, that's right. It's actually a complex of protected areas. It includes the Dudhwa National Park itself, but also two important nearby sanctuaries, Kishanpur Sanctuary and Karnayat Sanctuary. Together, they form the reserve.
And the habitat there is quite specific, typical of the Tarai-Pabar region.
Exactly. That characteristic habitat of the Upper Gangetic Plains, biogeographic province. Think tall grasslands, marshy areas, and dense forests right at the foothills of the Himalayas.
Sounds like a vital ecosystem. Are there major rivers?
Yes, several crucial ones. The Sharda River borders Kishanpur Sanctuary. The Jrua River flows through Karnayat Sanctuary. And then the Suhili and Mohana streams are within Dudhwa National Park itself. And all of these are tributaries of the larger Gagra River. These water sources are absolutely essential for maintaining the unique ecosystem.
And the vegetation. What kind of forests do you find?
It's dominated by the North Indian moist deciduous type. Dudhwa was famous for having some of India's finest examples of sal forest, Sharia robusta. And you also find associated species like Terminalia alata, Lagerstroemia parviflora, and others.
So rich forests. And the fauna, obviously tigers, given the name.
Yes, definitely tigers. The source mentions a count of 135.
135, great.
But also lots more. The sources list mammals like Goldar, which is the leopard, fishing cats, Indian giant squirrels, and reptiles like mugger crocodiles, gharials, which are critically endangered, and pythons. Plus, a significant bird population, too. It's very biodiverse.
And the recent news highlighting Dudhwa was quite positive, wasn't it? Something about butterflies.
Yes. Really lovely news. A recent survey found that the reserve now hosts 180 different species of butterflies.
Wow, 180 species.
It's a wonderful indicator. Butterflies are often quite sensitive to environmental changes, so seeing an increasing number of species like this generally points towards a healthier, more diverse habitat that can support them. It complements the healthy tiger count beautifully.
That's fantastic. Okay, let's pivot now. We're moving into technology and national security. Let's talk about the National Automated Fingerprint Identification System, or NAFIS.
NAFIS, right. This is India's pan-India searchable database for crime and criminal-related fingerprints.
So its main objective is to collect fingerprint data from criminals across all states and union territories.
Exactly. Create a single, centralized repository.
And the key benefit.
The power lies in enabling law enforcement agencies anywhere in the country to upload, trace, and retrieve fingerprint information 24/7 and, crucially, in real time.
Who manages this system?
It's managed centrally by the National Crime Records Bureau, the NCRB. which, as you know, falls under the Ministry of Home Affairs. They rent it from the Central Fingerprint Bureau in New Delhi.
How does it actually work? How does it link prints?
It's quite clever. The system assigns a unique 10-digit national fingerprint number, an NFN, to every single criminal when their biometrics are first entered. And this ID is designed to be theirs for life.
For life?
Yes. So even if that person commits different crimes in different states over many years, all those instances get linked back to that one unique NAFIS ID. The ID format even helps the first 2 digits indicate the state code where they were first registered, followed by a sequence number.
That sounds incredibly useful for tracking repeat offenders.
Immensely. It dramatically speeds up identifying a person of interest. You can quickly link their biometrics from a crime scene, for example, to see if they have any active warrants, warnings, or a previous criminal history stored anywhere that connected police systems across India.
And there was some recent news about NAFIS.
Yes. The center revised a procedure related to the Foreigner's Identification Portal, which is actually integrated with NAFIS. Basically, they've instructed states and UTs to make better use of the fingerprint scanners they already have.
Which ones?
The ones available at the district police level under the existing IVF-RRT system, that's the Immigration Visa Foreigner Registration Tracking System. So instead of needing new hardware, they can leverage the existing infrastructure, simplifying the process for identifying foreign nationals if needed.
Makes sense, using existing tools.
Oh,
Okay, now let's turn back to biology for some exciting discoveries. First up, something called Digestible punensis.
Digestible punensis. Yes, this is the name given to a brand new species of planarian worm.
A planarian worm. Where was it found?
Right here in India.
Yeah.
Specifically in Pashan Lake, which is in Pune district, Maharashtra. And Pashan Lake itself is a wetland area within the Western Ghats biodiversity hotspot.
That's quite a find. Is it common to find new species like this?
Well, finding new species happens, but the sources note this is actually the first new planarian species to be officially recorded in India since way back in 1983.
Wow, since 1983. So what are planarians known for?
They're a type of aquatic flatworm, but their real claim to fame is their absolutely extraordinary regenerative capability.
Regeneration, right. They can regrow body parts.
And how? Digestible punensis itself has a distinctive look. It's got a spotted appearance, dark brown on its dorsal side, pale underneath. They're pretty small, maybe 8 to 12 millimeters long. The description mentions slightly reduced auricles. Those are like little sensory ear-like projections on their head, and some specific internal structures like an elongated pharynx and gonopore.
What about eyes?
They have 2 bright black eyes located within those auricular grooves, and their eggs are described as circular and reddish.
But back to that regeneration, how good is it for this species?
It's truly remarkable. The source specifically states Digestible punensis can completely regenerate itself from fragments in just 10 to 13 days.
10 to 13 days to regrow a whole body.
That's incredible. It really is. Amazing biological feat.
Okay, from tiny worms regenerating on Earth, let's look way, way outward. To space exploration, we're heading to Mars to talk about a volcano called Archimons.
Archimons. Yes, the recent news involves NASA's 2001 Mars Odyssey orbiter. It sent back a stunning new picture showing this massive volcano actually piercing through a layer of clouds in the Martian atmosphere. A really dramatic image.
And Archimons is, well, it's huge, isn't it?
Colossal is the word. It's a shield volcano located in the Tharsis region of Mars. And it's genuinely one of the largest volcanoes in the entire solar system.
How large are we talking?
It towers over 18 kilometers high. That's about 11 miles. And its base spreads out more than 300 kilometers over 190 miles across.
Just to put that in perspective.
It absolutely dwarfs Earth's tallest volcano, Mauna Loa in Hawaii, which rises about 9 kilometers from the seafloor. Archimons is twice as high from its base.
Incredible scale. Is it part of a group?
Yes, it's part of what's called the Tharsis Montes. That's a group of 3 enormous shield volcanoes clustered together in that region of Mars. Archimons is the southernmost of the 3.
And does it have a crater at the top?
It does. A massive caldera, which is that summit crater formed after eruptions. This one is approximately 110 kilometers wide, about 68 miles across. Just the crater.
When was it last active?
Well, its history is ancient. It's thought to have been volcanically active for billions of years. But the most recent significant eruptions are believed to have happened within the past couple of million years, which is relatively recent in geological terms for Mars.
And you can see evidence of this activity.
Oh, yes. Its flanks, its sides are covered in extensive lava flows, ancient channels carved by lava, and other volcanic features. It paints a picture of a long and very complex history.
How did it form?
It's believed to have formed just like shield volcanoes on Earth through the gradual accumulation, layer by layer, of very fluid basaltic lava flows over immense periods of time.
Fascinating. Okay, let's wrap up our deep dive today with one more biological discovery. This time, it's a new species of bat, the Himalayan long-tailed Myotis.
That's right. Researchers recently confirmed the discovery of this new bat species.
And, as the name suggests, found in the Himalayas.
Yes, specifically discovered in the western Himalayan region. It belongs to what scientists call the Myotis freighter complex.
The Myotis freighter complex?
Yeah, it's basically a group of bat species that look quite similar morphologically. This group has a really wide distribution across Asia, places like eastern China, Taiwan, Siberia, Korea, Japan, even Tajikistan and Uzbekistan.
And this new Himalayan species, where does it live exactly?
It seems to prefer specific forest habitats, primarily deodar, pine, and cedar forests. The sources suggest it appears to be a relatively rare species, native to the southern slopes of the Himalayas.
Has it been found in specific locations yet?
Yes, its known distribution so far includes Uttarakhand in India and also across the border in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan.
What does it look like? Any distinguishing features?
It's described as medium-sized, about 3.5 inches long, and weighing less than an ounce, so quite small and light. It has delicate feet, apparently relatively long thumbs, which have strong, short claws, also short ears, and interestingly, delicate teeth.
Delicate teeth.
Hmm.
And while we're talking about this specific new bat, it's probably a good moment to just quickly reiterate the broader ecological significance of bats in general.
Yeah, absolutely. They often get a bad rap, but they're crucial.
They really are huge contributors to biodiversity and overall ecosystem health.
What are some of their key roles?
Well, first, they're major insect predators. They devour enormous quantities of insects every night, including agricultural pests and mosquitoes, which helps us humans too.
Right, natural pest control.
Exactly. Second, their droppings, guano, are an incredibly rich source of fertilizer because it's high in nitrogen and phosphorus. Very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And third, many bat species act as important pollinators. They feed on nectar, transferring pollen between flowers just like bees, and they also help disperse seeds for many plants, especially fruits. So, predators, fertilizers, and pollinators. Pretty vital roles.
Definitely vital. So, discovering a new species like the Himalayan long-tailed Myotis just adds another piece to that complex ecological puzzle. Well, we've certainly covered a vast landscape today in this deep dive, haven't we? We went from the economic ripples of traditional medicine trade to on-the-ground conservation in Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, navigated the tensions in the South China Sea, checked in on global health goals for NTDs, looked at a futuristic geoengineering idea like SAI, examined forensic tech with NAFIS, and marveled at new species, from tiny regenerating worms in Poon to bats in the Himalayas and even that giant volcano on Mars.
Right. It's a lot, but each of these pieces, no matter how seemingly small or disparate, adds another layer to your understanding of the world. And thinking about how these things might intersect, that's really crucial for navigating complex exams like the UPSC, but also just for understanding our interconnected world.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with maybe a final thought for you, the listener, drawing from these sources. Considering the interconnectedness we've seen highlighted today, think about how global demand for something like ejiao affects local donkey populations miles away, or how the close proximity of military assets near T2 Island keeps forces on high alert. Or even just reflecting on the potential locked inside a tiny worm's regenerative ability discovered in Pune. How does understanding these seemingly separate events, these connections, how does that change your perspective on the bigger picture? On global systems, or maybe local ecosystems, or even the challenges we face?
Definitely something to mull over as you process all this information. This has been our deep dive into the source material for the 10th of June, 2025, Part 1.
We really hope this was helpful in quickly getting you informed on these key current affairs topics.
And if you did find this deep dive valuable, please do consider liking and subscribing where you're listening. It genuinely helps support us in creating more content like this for you. Thanks so much for joining us.